even Junkrat players deserve to have fun, you know what I mean?
I will say there is something kind of frustrating with her, like the little arrow sticking into people and the delay.
Men are lonely.
Welcome back to Overthink, the game show where I ask contestants a series of Overwatch hot takes to see where they stand. Feel free to play along in the comments to let me know what your opinions are on these hot takes. And if you'd like to actually be on an episode, go ahead and sign up in my Discord. I host these live on my Twitch channel most Sundays, so please go follow me on there to catch a show live. And lastly, please don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more content like this. I think sometimes it's okay to ban your teammate's preferred hero.
I will be honest, normally I would say don't ban the heroes that your teammates are preferring, except for the case of Zarya. My hatred for that woman burns so bright that I am completely okay with banning her no matter who wants to play her. I don't care at all. I'll get her out of this game, please. Thank you.
You know the host of the show is a Zarya player, right?
Well, okay.
Yes? All right,
I'm sorry.
so POV, you're in a game of ChristalRaine and she logs Zarya. What you do? What are you doing?
I'm banning her. I'm sorry. I am.
Really? Really? All right, I'm gonna
It's
ban
not
Weaver.
personal.
Let's see you struggle. Let's see you struggle.
Okay. All right.
It's
I can play
on
Ana.
site. On site.
All right. If we ever come across each other, ban him. Do it. I dare you.
I agree. I think when you have characters that are hard meta that you don't want to play with or against, sometimes or even not hard meta for that case scenario, Sombra, Soj, I think are perfect examples. Ana sometimes, Kiri. I think these are all characters that are kind of boring to play against. So I think just outright banning them, even if your teammate is a one trick or wants to play one of those heroes, I think it could just make for a better game.
So I somewhat agree, because same thing with Hyper said, where like if there is a hard meta character that you just do not want to have in your game, either on your team or the enemy team, then even if your teammate wants to play that, the enemy still can as well, and you just don't want to deal with that. I am somewhat agree and not completely agree, because if you do have a one trick on your team, I do not like, you are queuing up Overwatch is gambling who you will have on your team, and sometimes you get a one trick, and I feel like it's kind of mean just a little bit to ban their one trick, and also just gives you a higher chance of losing because they have to play a character that they have not put thousands of hours into.
Honestly, the point from Hyper is the main reason I'm in somewhat disagree and not full disagree. Like, there are sometimes problematic and meta heroes and you can make a case there, but I disagree mainly because I feel like it's a really good way to start a fight, and that's the last thing you want. If you have someone on your team who's beefing with you at the start of the game, that's not a good way to win the game. If they're more focused on, say, they're a 1,000-hour Junkrat one trick and you ban Junkrat and they get really aggy about that, that's probably not a game you're winning.
Yeah, so the thing about banning an OTP is that it rides the same line that players have already with, like, complaining about their teammates, kind of like the, oh, my DPS are not good, oh, my supports are not good, and honestly, that's a kind of power that you really don't want, seeing as if you try to ban someone that already has knowledge in a particular character, they are absolutely not able to bring that to the same degree to a different one, right? If they OTP a particular character, that's not the case. The reason I'm not really fully disagreeing with this fact is because some characters you can just kind of understand, okay, you're OTP, you like Cassidy, but you can play Sojourn. I know you can play, like, Ashe. I know you can play. So really, if it's, if they can, come up from it, it does seem like you should be able to ban them anyways if you're just really annoyed by them.
Overwatch does a great job with collabs.
I super agree with that. They do a great job with collabs because the skins always look really good, especially when they have to translate them from whatever form of media they are from to Overwatch's art style. And I think that the art team does a great job with that. And while they could be more diverse in the characters that they give them to, like I'm playing as Junkrat and he is famous for not getting anything, so the characters could be more diverse, but in general, I think that the skins themselves look good, and that I think the only game comparable would be Fortnite, which I don't think anything can compare to Fortnite's collabs. So
I honestly somewhat agree. Just the reason that the characters that they choose are kind of repetitive. Like, honestly, if I'm not big with it, like, he has received 4 skins, if I'm not wrong, from collabs. or I'm wrong, maybe more. But honestly, like they need to like choose different characters. But other than that, like the skins are really well made. They could use a little bit more of advertisement other than that, like social media sometimes. This with the Cypher collab that came out last season, that they put a Discord class, but it needs like a little bit more advertisement in my opinion. But other than that, they're really good skins.
This is kind of a me problem because I don't know a lot of the properties that they do collabs with. Like the only one that I knew before the collab was Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I was a little bit disappointed in that one, specifically because of like some of the characters that got picked. Like you just mentioned it about the like Kiri and Juno getting it all. Like there being a Kiri skin for the lady whose name I forget, but there not being like a Sokka or like one of the main cast, when that would have been easy to do with someone like, I don't know, like Junker Queen make the knife, like the boomerang. So it just feels like the only one that I can make an opinion on was disappointing to me. So that's why I'm only slightly disagreeing.
Should there not be game modes for these collabs? Should there not be like any other pieces, like other pieces of media aside from animations and things within the game? I think when it comes to skins, Overwatch kind of like misses the ball when it comes to skins can infer like character qualities, right? So there's a couple of skins where there's like lore behind them and something interesting. But when it comes to a collab, you could also introduce the elements of those games or those pieces of media into Overwatch, and that could somehow be an interesting thing. I would find it extremely disappointing if the Street Fighter collab doesn't have some interesting game mode or something that can involve Overwatch as a game, as opposed to like a, I don't know, what are they called, the fashion shows or something like that. There can be more interesting things in these collaborations.
So after hearing everybody speak, is there anybody that would like to change their stance?
Honestly, it was Zomboy's point about additional content that really like stuck out to me, because I was kind of thinking in terms of, the skins are good, but then in terms of what the job is of these collabs, it being more than just skin, there being additional things to go with it, that I think is quite important as well. And the lack of game modes for most of the recent collabs have been disappointing. Like I really love the Diablo game mode, controversial take, and I wish they kept doing stuff like that.
The Overwatch team dislikes the characters that aren't cutesy and or popular, like Kiri, Juno, Reinhardt, etc.
I somewhat agree. I don't think they necessarily hate those characters and ignore them completely. I think the character designers, the dev team, they all obviously are aware of these characters and try to do the best they can with what they're provided in terms of balancing and cosmetics. But I think there are definitely preferred characters. They obviously are going to prefer characters that are popular, that are going to make them and, Blizzard and thus Blizzard shareholders more money. So giving skins to characters like Mercy and Juno, it's just going to be better as a business model.
I don't think that they necessarily dislike some of the characters. Obviously, there was that Pop Noodle tweet that everyone believed, where they said that they specifically dislike some of the characters. I get why people would agree with that, because obviously Kiriko, Reinhardt, Juno, they get a lot of skins, but then there are other popular characters like Lucio. Lucio is one of the, I see people talk about Lucio all the time, and he doesn't really get like he gets more stuff than a lot of the other characters, but he still doesn't get as much. So I wouldn't necessarily say that there are characters that they hate, and I would say they give skins more to characters that they like. I don't think there's anyone that is specifically hated.
It's basically the same as what Hyper said. Like they're running a business here. It's a free-to-play game, so the money's got to come from somewhere. And if that's what makes them money, that's what they're going to do. In my head, it's just like a completely cold decision like that. There's no personal playing favorites in terms of characters. At least I don't think.
I feel like that it's more of the silhouettes that make them popular. Well, yeah, there probably is some bias. Like, who else would get a big buff guy skin like the All Might skin? Reinhardt's the obvious choice. Who's gonna get like the cute girly skin? It's gonna be one of the girls. Well, yeah, they're pretty popular. There still should be some skins for other heroes,
I do think they do have a bit of a problem when it comes to like the distribution of like skins. However, you also look at the history of Overwatch. A lot of these characters would get skins pretty actively. Like for the longest time, Tracer was the one who had the most skins. Lucio was close behind her too. Overall, like I do think they do at least. I think they need to pick up the slack because there are other games that give characters more skins, like Apex, for example. It has pretty healthy skin distribution between characters. Granted, they pump skins out like babies, but overall, I don't think it's too terribly much bias. But there is definitely one, but it's not like too terribly much.
Hero bans were not needed.
I strongly dislike hero bans. Full disclosure, on DPS my main is Sombra, so that probably influences things. I just think that like conceptually a button to like turn off a way to play the game for other players is just not fun. Going back to what you said at the beginning, the whole point of the game is to be fun, and something that like can turn it off and just has like no counterplay, it's uncompetitive and all around bad, I would say. I don't see any real benefit.
Do you think if you weren't a Sombra player, do you think that you would still be against hero bans? Or do you only care so strongly because it affects you personally?
I understand the appeal because like there are certain characters that like I really dislike. I'll name names, notably Junkrat. Even Junkrat players deserve to have fun, you know what I mean?
I'm quite neutral on hero bans themselves. Like, there have been equal, like, good and bad things coming out of it. Like, I have not had to go against Zarya in a little while, and I like that, sorry. There are, like, bad things that come from it as well. Like, for example, when I'm having a bad day with my dyspraxia, it's Moira or nothing. So if Moira gets banned because I'm in gold, I'm cooked. I'm of the opinion that it wasn't needed. It can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing, but in general, it wasn't needed. It could be fun, but it wasn't exactly needed.
With hero bans, you need to have a high number of heroes or characters in the game. I don't think Overwatch is nearing that number needed for something like hero bans to be useful. You know, take a look at League of Legends. There's hundreds of characters and you get like 4 or 5 bans. And then you get something like Overwatch where you have, what is it, like some 8 tanks, and then you have the possibility of 2 of them getting banned. Metas are already stagnant enough. I think better balancing can solve the issues that they wish hero bans could.
I feel like hero bans are needed, but not completely. Well, if someone's solo queuing, they're a Sombra main or Zarya main, they're probably going to have a rough time, especially in lower ranks where people ban based off emotion. If you're 5 stacking or in a higher rank, you're probably going to have way less of a hard time, and you might get to ban those more actual meta heroes like Sojourn and Zarya.
Overwatch is 2 different things. It's when you're in high elo or you're in low elo. And when you're playing the game, you're playing the game to have fun. Hero bans in high elo, particularly, is all about how a lot of maps are very hero dependent. And it starts being like, if the map is Widow biased, you don't want Widow. And then after that, the map can be entertaining within a bounds that excludes that character, which has a very undynamic approach of gameplay. And at low elo, it's simply because you want to enjoy a game you're new to, but certain characters are preventing you to play characters that are like more entertaining and have like a greater hero fantasy. If we're talking about like Sombra, Roadhog, Junkrat, you know, all those characters, they really prevent you from playing Tracer, Genji, Winston, Doomfist, you know. These are characters that present big issues when you are starting to play the game, and I feel like a lot of players here who already like in this crew who've already accumulated a lot of hours playing the game don't realize how much of an important issue that is, especially when I want to play it competitively.
I would like to kind of respond to something that Hyper said. So what Hyper had said, unless I'm getting this wrong, in which I'm so sorry if I am, is that instead of bans, balance should be the solution. Well, here's the thing. This game's been out for however many years, dang near 10. There have been spots where it's been considered great balance, like October of 2020. However, there will never be a perfect balance for everyone. There's gonna be someone who hates a character. There's gonna be someone, or like a character. Take Junker Queen, for example. There's a crap ton of counters for her. There's Zarya, Ana, Kiriko. That's 3 whole characters, not including soft counters that hard counter her. For a Junker Queen player, she might want to ban those heroes. And I don't put it past her, because due to the nature of continuously adding heroes, because remember, we're not in Overwatch 1 anymore, we're getting heroes now, it will get progressively more and more hard to perfectly balance these characters. And I think at this point, a ban system is needed, especially with map dependent ones, like what Zomboy said. Like, I'm not playing Widow against Widow favored maps. I don't care.
If you ban heroes like Sombra and Zarya, you probably lack skill.
I think that like being able to be adaptable and play against the perfect conditions, that is a skill. Being like able to play through like the tilt, that is a skill. If you're just getting rid of a hero, not even like the meta best heroes, just because you don't want to engage in that, I can only see it as lacking that skill, or at least not wanting to apply it, which is not an option for any other skill. So I don't see why it should be for this.
Do you think that there are certain characters that are banned more in lower ranks than they are in higher ranks due to like skill issues?
I can't say for sure because my rank has been pretty consistent since the new season, but I would imagine so. That's what I've heard.
I, as an ex-coach and Omega Wash competitive player, something that I see very often are teams trying to force the enemy team out of their comfort zone. You know, you go to Junkertown, you want to play a Widow Sig comp, you want to play poke. You go to Numbani, you want to play some type of dive. But if you can ban the core of these heroes, if you can get rid of what this team is comfortable on, I think it encourages that adaptability that Kraken was previously talking about. I think the ability to flex around is a skill in and of itself, but I think hero bans can also force your expression of skill based on your hero pool.
I honestly disagree. Like, the thing about Sombra, the thing is that people hate her and she's annoying most of the time all around. And the thing about Zarya is that she's too strong most of the time. Like, you can force her out of like changing, but it doesn't happen as much. You have to like just play the whole game with a Zarya, and sometimes it's really not okay.
As the resident Doom OTP, unfortunately, when you do have characters like Hog, Sombra, Cass, Ana, somewhat, these characters dramatically reduce the actual output that you can have, and skill expression is specifically defined by whether or not you actually can have that output. So these characters do reduce your capacity to express yourself. And in a way, it's not the fact that it removes skill, but it removes what you can do. Meaning you have to lock yourself down to playing a different hero, or else you have to kind of like play this mediocre version of this character. When you do ban these heroes, however, that expression is much more free, fluid, and open, and more so akin to how the character really should feel. Again, like Hog bans Hog is really, really frustrating to play into as a Doom, and you really have to play Diet Doomfist. That's it.
Mercy hate is rooted in sexism.
So I think specifically because of how Mercy is related to such e-girl culture, a lot of or cosplayers, like, I mean, there was the Amber Heard cosplay thing a while ago. Mercy is just such a, like, especially banning her, it is kind of, I think that's a skill issue. Like, I'm so sorry, it is. I think because her fan base happens to be compiled mostly of women and also just it's people who are not cisgendered straight men. It kind of builds this like I don't know how to articulate it, but it's just this like they are the other to a lot of people, and also the character is seen at face value as skillless since there's no pointing and clicking with like Cassidy or Ana or Kiriko, and so I think it builds to this just weird hatred that comes from misunderstanding not only the character, but also the skill level of the people who play her. And as we all know, whenever a woman's talking in like a Call of Duty lobby, the first thing she gets told is go back in the kitchen, make me a sandwich, all that jibber jabber. And so obviously not all hatred of Mercy is rooted in like misogyny. However, I think a good amount, like a lot of it is.
If you had to put a percent, what would you say?
Probably like 52. Actually, no, 58.
Going to the percentage thing based, so I do not play support. I'm a trans woman, and I'm one of the few women who actually play tank, and most of my friends like to play Mercy, have played a lot of Mercy at some point or another. And like, I do not care that much if they are playing Mercy, even though they are not healing me as much as other supports could, because it's like they're having fun, and I think that is like the main thing. A lot of my friends who play Mercy are women, or at the very least sound like women, and they get a lot more hate, I think, than they should for playing a character. For the percentage thing, I'd say at least 70%, I think, of Mercy hate is like rooted in misogyny or homophobia or something along those lines. And while there are some people who will dislike Mercy because of how the character plays, I think there's a small subsection of people who will get mad at like anybody who like tries to say anything. Like there are people like on both sides of the argument, I think, where if you even mention the character, people will get mad. Like people who like hate the character will like say something about it. But then there are also people who kind of go too far, I think, in defending the character, and will be like, and will accuse you of being misogynistic or homophobic because of like your dislike of how the character plays. But I think that's like a very very small group of people. For the most part, I would argue that it is misogynistic. However, there is a group of people who have genuine opinions, but that does not come up enough, I think, for it to matter.
I feel I'm in somewhat agree, because I feel like there's a difference between disliking Mercy and hating Mercy. People who dislike Mercy, it can come from, say, the way Bluebeam can enable a Sojourn to become the server admin, or stuff to that effect. But to have like the visceral emotional response that takes it over the line to hate, there's got to be something a little bit more to that than just, I don't like how this character plays. I feel like that's in the dislike category. If you actively devote time and energy to hating something, I feel like there's got to be something a little bit more there than just gameplay concerns.
Men are lonely. Like, when it comes to playing Overwatch and then also playing in VC, and then there's a woman in VC, there's always going to be that one guy that says, oh, it's a girl, oh, it's a... Dude, shut up, you know? I feel like a lot of the time that because one woman biased towards playing characters that they associate with, then you kind of like create that. And at the same time, Mercy's also really poorly designed. So there's this weird, like this really unfortunate dichotomy. We live in this universe where simultaneously a community that biases, queer people included, bias towards this hero, and also the hero isn't really good for the game. Like it's really unfortunate. And there's a lot of like emotion that kind of moves into it, and I'm especially sympathetic to the people that have to like be very annoyed and sad about it. It sucks. But yeah, I think like even I very much dislike Mercy for the way that she's designed, and elaborate as much as we need. But yeah, a lot of Mercy hatred. It's true on both sides, literally.
I think that while Mercy player hate is typically rooted in misogyny because, like what was said, it's typically like linked to e-girls and all that, I feel like the hero, hating the hero itself, is more of a hating the character's kit. More like in low ranks, people hate Mercy because they can't aim. Nobody can aim, and she flies around at Mach 10. While in high ranks, it's because Mercy will typically be pocketing the already meta heroes like Sojourn, if they're not already banned.
As Flair said, I think they kind of nailed it on the dot there. In terms of Mercy player hate, I completely agree that it is deeply rooted in misogyny. However, Mercy as the character in Overwatch hate, I believe it's solely based on the way the character has been created, the character plays. In as messed up as it is, as a straight white dude, there's a certain amount of privilege that comes in this world for free, and it fumes me to my core. But when you have people that spout the, yo, you're a girl, get on Mercy, especially in games like Overwatch, there's nothing normal about those people's brains. And so that stereotype of girl is Mercy player, that is without a doubt rooted in misogyny. But Mercy, the character, I just, as a tank player in Overwatch, you know, I just don't think she's a well-created hero.
Now, let me ask something to the disagreeers. I don't know if you guys personally, how you feel about Mercy, but if you don't like her, have you ever been accused of being sexist because of it?
I can't say that I have.
Saratoga? Weren't you on my Mercy haters episode?
Yes.
Okay, so you hate Mercy.
Yeah, but I probably have on Twitter, but I don't check. I have notifications off for all of that, so...
Okay, the reason that they're not hated, or they're not called sexist, is because this video game is predominantly played by men, and there's no chance in heck that they're going to be assumed as sexist, just because mostly men play this game.
That's interesting because, for example, my little brother, he does not like Mercy. It has nothing to do with women. It has nothing to do with the player base. It has everything to do with the fact that he doesn't like blue beam enabling characters like Soj and Ash and whatever, and all those breakpoints, or even Pharah or whatever. He just doesn't like it. But like, I get like a visceral reaction every time he's on my stream talking about how he doesn't like Mercy, because I'm like, oh God, people are gonna say he's sexist. He's gonna get canceled. I'm gonna get canceled. You know what I mean? It's always like such a stressful thing. I think that it definitely happens, but I think you're also correct that like a lot of the community is guys. So a lot of people, like even if they actually are sexist, like there are definitely people out there who are very sexist and their hatred for Mercy is absolutely rooted in it. They still don't get called out that much because it's excused by a lot of guys. So I agree with you. Yeah.
Oh, can I interject
Go
too?
ahead.
Just there's this one really important thing.
Yeah.
In general, Overwatch is a game where you have people biasing towards very particular heroes. Like Genji is an extremely popular hero because he's the cyborg ninja dude, and there's a bunch of media beforehand that kind of influences that opinion, right? So when people bias towards playing Mercy, a character where ostensibly you do have this opinion, people think that she's not strong, but people play her anyways, is simply because people associate with the hero. And I mean, I guess not to say that people think Genji's like problematic or whatever, but like even then, Genji, like people just want to play the heroes that best represents them. I play Doomfist because Doomfist represents this like quasi-strategic, but also like mechanics gameplay. What we call it like full of brains and full of hands, kind of. So I kind of sympathize with that gameplay, and that's why I want to play Doom all the time. But for Mercy, it's because, I don't know, just Mercy players. I just like her. The mobility is one of the biggest things from her kit. And they don't have to like the aesthetic, they might just like the gameplay.
Freya is well balanced.
Yeah, she feels good. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter to me much, but if we're talking like on the surface and just kind of like works, she has like a dynamic that's pretty interesting that people haven't gotten used to yet. So I think that's the reason why. I feel like people might be thinking she might be broken because they're not used to the hero yet, but she's strong in particular ways that Freya players have caught up to first.
Honestly, I feel like she's really nice, balanced character. The thing is that as a new release character, as it always happens, like any new character in any game, people think that they're broken because they haven't seen the mechanics yet. But she's a really nice character that you can feel as to play and to play against, because it's kind of punishable if you miss like your secondary fire, but if you don't miss it, it's kind of rewarding, like a lot.
Not played against her very much. However, the few times I have, she has been slightly oppressive. So I think personally, I haven't played against her enough, or really played as her enough, because I've been mostly playing Stadium, to actually gauge how oppressive or not oppressive she is. But I will say there is something kind of frustrating with her, like the little arrow sticking into people and the delay. I don't know why it's so frustrating, because it's like you know the damage is coming, but you can't stop it, and I hate it. But other than that, I think she's mostly fine.
I think that Overwatch will never be completely balanced. I think that's impossible. It's just not the way the game has been created. However, Freya is obviously too good right now because immediately out of the gate upon release, almost a must pick in pro play like OWCS the past 2 days. She has so much damage potential, so much mobility that it's not as oppressive as Sojourn on release, but there is some adjustment and tuning that's needed to make her a little more in line with the other DPS.
I think one of the issues that Freya has is kind of similar to characters like Widow or Sojourn, where in especially when you get to like higher ranks or like pro play, she's going to be very good because she takes a lot of skill to play. However, in the lower ranks, she's not going to be as good because she's harder, and obviously if you are a lower rank, you're not going to be as good at the game because that's just how that works. And I think that it's kind of hard to balance characters like that because then you get to the issues where there needs to be a nerf for pro play and higher ranks, but then you get people in lower ranks who are very upset because they like playing their character, who maybe they aren't getting as much value as obviously someone who is a lot better at the game would, and it's just unfortunate. And then that they can't balance for everyone. They have to, and it's going to be bad for one group of players, and it sucks.
Stadium is the best thing Overwatch has ever done.
So I had kind of stopped playing Overwatch around season 14, 15. I had kind of just started losing interest in the game. Like I hadn't lost interest, but I was having less fun playing the game, which kind of sucked because I love playing this game. When I saw that they were adding Stadium, I was very excited because it's kind of the first thing I kind of noticed was that it was very similar to the Junkenstein game mode that they had released in October. That was some of the most fun me and my friends ever had playing, was just trying to build our characters and just make fun builds and just become really strong. And sometimes we would throw games sometimes just so that we could play for longer and get stronger builds. And Stadium brings that back, except even better. And it's just having that control over your character and being able to play the game the way you want makes it a lot more fun. And I cannot wait for the future Stadium.
One thing that I just simply adore about the Stadium mode is it kind of gave something that a lot of people were looking forward to from the big three scary letters, PvE, of adding to that power fantasy. We're seeing the the Dragon Blade beam things that was shown many moons ago in the old PvE trailers, and I think it has kind of reinvigorated that fantasy that people wanted for so long, especially MOBA players who had wanted more from, because Overwatch was sold as oh, what if a first person shooter was also League of Legends? And so for a lot of those players, they will probably absolutely adore this mode. I think it really just enhances the power fantasy of the characters, which this is what the entire game is about. The game is about the characters. This is the best possible route they could have gone after having to scrap all the talents and all the stuff that we never got and will sadly probably never see the light of day unless it's in Stadium.
I feel while it probably is the best thing to happen, I feel it's almost near the best because I still feel there needs to be a lot more unique hero specific items, and a lot more tanks and DPS feel they need to be added, and along with maps and new modes. We're getting all of that in the upcoming seasons, so I feel once those new seasons get here, I feel it will be the best thing Overwatch has ever had.
I don't really like it. I tried playing a few games and I just got so overwhelmed by everything. Don't get me wrong, I think that getting content is always a good thing, but to act like it's the best thing that ever happened, it's just not for me. I recognize that that's just because I'm not the target audience. I just find it way overwhelming.
No one saw this coming. I think Stadium has the potential to be the best thing that the dev team has ever added to Overwatch. But I think first it needs a lot of improvements. It needs lots of more uniqueness. Heroes map, some of which we know is coming. But I think it also, to have that title of being the best thing ever released in Overwatch, I think it has to get in line with things like hero limits. You know, when Overwatch 1 first came out, role lock, 5v5 perks, a decent competitive esports scene, past and present, that is unfortunately struggling, but it is still there. And, you know, who doesn't just absolutely love loot boxes in Overwatch 2? I mean, that's gotta be up there too. But I think there are all these other things that kind of overshadows it for now. And I'm optimistically cautious about whether Stadium can be what it's hyped up to be.
Can I just point out that Watt in chat said, Mr. Armor piercing himself in a disagree. Love that. I don't know if you're gonna live that one down.
Steam coming out of my ears right now.
Subscribe.
To the 1, to the 1, to the 3. I play easy mode and I play to win. I love to die and I like to BRB. All systems checked out. Group up with me. 2 to the 1, to the 1, to the 3. I'm here to party. GG. A giant gorilla can keep up with me. You can't be serious. I'm the queen bee. Get out of the way. I'm the MVP.